Okay, y'all, another brilliant, beautiful conversation to share with you all. I just had an amazing chat with Dr. Kathleen Funk. Um, Such a great conversation. So, she's a fourth generation healer with a doctorate in Chinese medicine. She spent over 12 years running an integrative medical clinic before following the work where it wanted to go into remote energy healing and visual art. Through her brand Acupuncture and Patreon community, Don't Call It Woo, she explores traditional medicine, decolonizing wellness, and art as a form of liberation. Her weekly energy reports blend Western astrology with Bazi Chinese astrology. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Kathleen, offering a grounded, intuitive weather report for chi flow, practical, poetic, and very deeply rooted in lineage. And in this conversation, we talk about decolonizing wellness, art as a way of expressing the body's energy. We talk about how to nourish our bodies, our souls, during our current tumultuous, collective, energetic state. And we get into the vibes for the year of the fire horse and what to expect and how to work with that energy. This was a really great conversation. I totally love Kathleen's vibe. And I'm very excited to share this conversation with you on Connected in the Den. So let's get into this conversation with Dr. Kathleen Funk. Connected in the Den, a cozy, no bullshit space where we talk energy, intuition, healing, and real life spiritual stuff without the freaking fluff. Think soul convos, ancestral wisdom, alien magic, and the occasional cosmic rant, all from the comfort of your inner cave. I hope you feel connected in the den. Okay, so look, we cannot be classy all of the time. It's exhausting. In this episode of Connected in the Den, we do have some adult language. So if you have little ones around, you might want to grab your headphones. Let's do this, Dr. Kathleen
official.
Funk. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Likewise. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. I'm so excited. How are you doing in this moment? Because I know there's like a lot. Normally I say like, I don't know. Because we were just saying you are in the US right now. So how are you feeling with everything?
I'm feeling trepidatious. I'm feeling bold. I'm feeling full of love. I'm feeling trepidatious because I think that there's a reality that's sinking in for very many of us that we've been trying to tell people and tell folks about. And it's like, okay, where's the line here, guys? Like,
right.
Is it even worth like trying to convince anyone at this point? And do I just need to take care of mine? Is kind of where I'm at. So I'm an immigrant. I was born in the Philippines. I immigrated to the United States. I am a naturalized citizen. I love being here. I love growing up in a multicultural home. I love growing up and living in a state that is half Mexican or like 90% Mexican.
Totally.
And welcomes refugees from so many countries all over the world. We have a huge population from the Middle East. We have a huge population from Southeast Asia as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the way that I live and love with our community here is very different than what the sentiments are outside of that particular bubble.
Okay.
And there is a dissonance that is certainly happening for me that I'm still coming to terms with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to dive into some of that a little bit, but first let's just,
sure.
You are a fourth generation healer.
Yes.
With a doctorate in Chinese medicine. And so I was just curious, what does it mean to be a fourth generation healer as a more like a lived in responsibility?
Yes, yes, because like it's a big deal for me to say it like that, not in the sense of like, oh, this is who I am, and I am, I'm so much better. It's more so that like this is a medicine that was carried through colonialism. This was a
Mm-hmm.
medicine that was carried through war. It's carried through migration, and it's something that's very deeply entwined in our family. And to the point where like there are parts of this medicine that we had to keep silent, that we didn't even acknowledge because it wasn't something that was accepted. And
Mm-hmm.
so to be in a place now where I can go, oh, this is actually part of my history. My family was very good at this, and they really care. They were the caretakers for this particular type of medicine. I feel so proud to show and share with folks that, hey, this has gone through a bunch of shit
Totally.
and we're still here.
Yes. So how did the healing move through your family and through your lineage? Like how did the practices move through?
Yeah, so from my understanding, it began with my great grandmother, Juliana Vizcara, and this is a touchy point for very many Filipinos because a lot of Filipinos like to say, oh, I'm not Filipino, I'm part Spanish. I will
Oh,
say that she was
okay.
legitimate. Yeah, colonialism.
Yeah.
She was actually full-blooded Spanish.
Okay.
So much of her medicine that she brought to with her in the Philippines was like a syncretic mix of Spanish and South American curanderismo.
Okay.
But she was also very close to the Filipino healers and the local babaylans, the herbalists, and she ended up marrying a Filipino. And so that medicine really blended both
Mhm.
literally and metaphorically
Yeah, yeah.
and functionally too. And so I find that the mix of the time when she was um, practicing, there were a lot of Chinese immigrants that were already in the Philippines. There were a lot of Japanese immigrants too who were trying to colonize the Philippines. Um, and so much of the medicine that was passed down to us seems to be a mix.
Okay.
And it was surprising to me because when I started learning Chinese medicine, I was like, oh, wait, I know this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we totally done this for the longest time. This is like actually part of a system. And it's all these folk folk healing, folk medicine approaches, or like understandings of food and science and seasons that just were very practical in our way of living, that just
Mhm.
didn't have a name.
Mhm. Okay. And was there like a particular calling, or did you just always feel like it's just what you were, born to do? Do you feel like there was any resistance um like entering into, I guess, the practice, like before you really like claimed it?
Honestly, like I was born to do this.
Yeah.
I feel that so strongly and in a very humble way. I feel truly that I was meant to serve and to connect this medicine and to connect folks. And it's funny because, the immigrant experience is very much like you come to the States and you have to take on a very valid profession, right? And so
Right.
the valid professions are like engineer, accountant, or something in finance, and of
Yeah.
course, like doctor.
Yes.
And so my sort of like turn into medicine was definitely biomedicine. It was in Western allopathic medicine
Okay. Okay.
because it was the thing that was closest to me.
Mhm.
But it wasn't until my college years that I met a professor of mine who really like had me think about what kind of physician I wanted to be. And it was really eye-opening for me because he was like, you don't have to be this type of physician. You have all of these other things in your tool belt. Um, Explore.
Mhm.
And much to the disappointment of my parents, they were like, "What are you doing, dropping out of pre-med?" Um,
Really?
yes, yes.
Wow,
Uh,
okay.
it's so funny, but eventually they realized, like, oh, okay, this is she's got something behind this. She understands how to work within this space, and she's not going to starve if she goes down this. That's really like what our immigrant parents are so worried about.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I think too, there's just like a very, I mean, I've spoken about this many times, and I find myself thinking about it a lot too, where it's just like there's such a fixation and focus on like certification, like, and so I always find this kind of internal like battle, I guess you could say, where it's like, obviously, yes, I understand if you're seeking a medicine person, a healer, you want them to have studied. Like, you don't, there are a lot of people that just kind of claim, well, fourth, third generation this, and don't really put much energy into knowledge and so I think there's also that too. It's like, because I understand too, like my father came from Trinidad to Canada, and I know with my grandparents, great grandparents, there was a lot of like shutting down of our traditions and our practices, and to blend in with society and stuff.
100%.
And so there's, I think too, that kind of ingrained belief too in our parents and grandparents, where it's like, I tell my father suddenly, because I had a whole nother business for 20 years, and then to be like, well, I'm going to do this now. I want to do this full time. I know, like, can be scary, like,
it's scary for a parent. Yeah,
totally. But I think there's also like an inner, I don't know if you can speak on this, like an inner pride, from our parents or grandparents to see us still continuing the work. Right.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that reflection, because that's something that I resonate with so deeply. And it's like, there's so many things in this, because I have a love-hate relationship with certifications. Like,
Same.
I understand and respect the rigor and the standardization of it. But literally anyone can say that they're standardized.
Yes.
There are like random folks that are just doing like these certifications on the weekend and saying like, oh, I'm a shaman now. And I'm like, you had one trip, Amy.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
And it's really, it doesn't have the same depth as someone who has gone through the work and really learned and lived the medicine. And that's unfortunate. The same thing too, like even with Chinese medicine, right? Like, I have a doctorate in Chinese medicine. What the F does that actually mean? That just makes my certification look more appealing to Western audiences and to Western institutions. It's the effing truth. Did I spend a shit ton of time studying and learning and like delving into the medicine? Absolutely. But there are 100% like people in Chinatown who have been doing this for generations that don't have a certification because their English is not as sharp as mine. And they're not any less of a practitioner than I am.
100%. Yeah.
And so I take issue with that. But I also see acupuncturists or people who come over and say like, oh yeah, I do acupuncture, and they really just like stick needles. And it's like a 200-hour course certification. And I'm like, I don't know. At the end of the day, it really comes down to like discernment for the person. Is the healer that you're going to and working with a person of integrity? Do they care about the medicine? Do they have a good relationship with the bearers of the medicine? How they relate to that is how they relate to you and your body too.
Yes, so well said. And I love too that you have this really strong focus on decolonizing wellness. I too have this strong focus on decolonizing spirituality. And but I just love how you really do challenge you challenge the wellness. Like I don't even know how I came across, I don't remember what I saw that, that triggered like me to follow, but I just know I was like, oh, love the vibe of this. And then, continuing to see things I just also artist to artist, I can see and feel that artistic, which I want to talk about too, your connection, with as a form of medicine, really, as a form of healing, right? So I just like how you challenge how the wellness industry, because it's essentially become an industry, that how it extracts from indigenous healing and practices, usually without any permission, usually without any respect, usually without any acknowledgement, and then profits, right? So, so when you say decolonizing wellness, what do you think people are most likely to misunderstand there?
I think that decolonizing our medicine really needs to start with decolonizing what we deem as valid forms of knowledge. And it is such a nuanced and like deep conversation about how embedded this is within us, because like even growing up, and I'm going to admit this myself, even growing up I was like, acupuncture, that's some like witchy stuff. And I'm like, me coming from a very, like literally like our family like practices this sort of medicine, and it's like, oh, acupuncture is just a little weird. But the thing is that it's not it's obviously, oh gosh, see, like my brain is going a million miles per hour because I'm like, where do I start? It can be so overwhelming but it really, really starts with how we see things and what we deem as valid. Yes, there is a place and time for the scientific method. I think that it's important to be accurate. I think it's important to understand mechanisms. I think it's important to understand what is repeatable and what is controlled. But I think also that type of intelligence is incredibly limiting. There are different parts of our spirit, body, and intellect that go beyond empirical knowledge, that go beyond what we can see and view. And I think that we're doing ourselves as a human race like such a huge disservice to not also cultivate those parts of our intellect, those parts of our spirit, to not fully understand like what we're really capable of.
Yes,
so that's how I feel about that.
How do you feel like the wellness industry, like how do you feel it has distorted? And I kind of I don't know, I kind of loop you into spirituality too. With what you do, but how do you feel like it's distorted the meaning of healing, and how do you think that distortion is I don't know, like continues to be enforced, or like like how, like what's happened here?
This is such a good question. This is such a good question. Like, let's get into it. I think that the wellness industry gets it wrong because they really think that oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Everything should be, say, like spam call. And like it immediately hung up. Come on. This is like a sign. Like this is break, because this is the shit that's coming through. I really think that the wellness industry gets it wrong because they think that there is something to be fixed. There needs to be something that has to be fixed. There's something wrong with you. You're not whole. We must fix this. Oh, you're not doing this well enough. Oh, it's not clean enough. It's not accurate enough. It's not, you're not optimized enough. You could be a Greek god, but you're not.
Yep.
But you could be, maybe, if you did this Pilates course with me.
Yes.
But also meditate 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And
and
it's so bizarre to think of how wellness has distorted this, because I can see a lot of ego in wellness. I can see a lot of ego in spirituality. Not to say that we're all egoless, right? Like we all give a shit in some sort of way. But it's the hyper focus on that. And I'm just going to say it. I think that a lot of wellness these days is what is our proximity to whiteness? What is our proximity to that sort of waspy whiteness? Oh my goodness. What is up with these? Christiane, I'm going to pause this shit.
No problem.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
This is supposed to be on airplane mode. but it's the same spam number calling me multiple times.
Oh,
Okay.
good. It's life.
But I feel like that's what wellness gets wrong. And I think that a lot of times too, because these um, wellness practices have been misappropriated, they misunderstand the context of how it's used.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it becomes really hollow and vapid and shallow because they're like, oh, I don't know, it's a little bit of woo woo, but you're not supposed to do this in Chinese medicine. Like cold
Mm-hmm.
water is bad. I don't know. My
Mm-hmm.
acupuncturist told me so. And it's like, no, there's a whole context, there's a cultural context for it, right? Like back in the day, ancient Chinese would drink water and they realized that, like, hey, if you just drink raw water out of a stagnant pond, you'd probably get some bad water. So
Right.
boiling it and heating it up is actually like really great for killing the bacteria in it. Also, it helps to stimulate your digestive enzymes. And
Mm,
so like being able to understand the full context of why a medicine is made like this, why there's like cultural precedent in perpetuating this, helps us to understand the depth, the art and the science of what's actually being spoken about here, rather than just like, ooh, it's just stereotypes and like magic.
yes. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I don't know if it's just my algorithm, but I do spend more time on TikTok. I don't
Mm.
know. Lately I've been just vibing with the energy there more. But I'm noticing a rise in Chinese medicine. Um which I find really I don't know if it's just, again, I don't know if it's just me, but it's like I'm just seeing, and it's not just practitioners speaking about it, it's people also speaking about their experience of seeing a Chinese medicine doctor. And like
Mm.
I do feel like collectively there's an awakening that's been happening, but that's intensifying. So I don't know if you can speak to this, if you feel like you've noticed this yourself, like what your thoughts are, I guess, on this.
Yes. I have noticed like a lot, like you've met me at a very Chinese time in my life.
How so? What do you
That's
mean?
no, no, no. That's like the meme that I've been seeing on TikTok, where
Oh,
it's just like you've
okay.
met me at a very Chinese time in my life, and it's just
Oh,
like
okay.
people getting acupuncture, drinking hot
Interesting.
drinks, and doing like qigong in the park. And I think it's really cute. I think that it's wonderful to be able to engage in a different culture and understand like, oh, this is a medicine. I'm going to try it out. Wow, it actually feels really great in my body.
Mm,
And there's less of a barrier to it. There's demystification about it, which I really enjoy.
yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm down for it.
Yeah, totally. I just think it's, I don't know. There's just it just seems to be a different um I think too a lot of us have been doing the work of like decolonizing our minds. So I think we're
Mm.
seeing healing practices. I shouldn't say we, but
No,
the white West,
we've all been contributing.
100%, 100%. Um, but it's like there's a different type of respect I see that's happening in terms of like white people seeking healing outside of the Western framework, right? So I'm seeing a different kind of
Mm.
respect there. People really wanting to understand. I don't know. I'm loving the shift. So I'm I wonder too, like how you wish or hope, like how you would like people to support healers, um, without turning without having their work be extractive, like without the extractive labor.
I think that this is such a wonderful question. I think that the way to help healers is to
Mm-hmm.
pay them and to ensure that there is a fair exchange for the energy and time and training that they've put into it.
Yeah.
Because I think that it starts there. We value a lot of Western medicine and we don't question when we have to pay thousands of dollars for one thing. And I'm not saying that this is just like a capitalist pull, but like I think that healers they also deserve to be well resourced. We need them in our revolution. We
Mm-hmm.
need them in our spiritual communities.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is valid and is deserving of being resourced.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, there are too many healers out there that I see get burnt out. They want to help, but they're just not simply able to because they got to pay the bills. They don't have food on the table. And like, you can only get like two free meals. And then like,
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, pay me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and the thing is that so many of these healers know what it's like to be on that side of the fence. And I know that they make programs that make it accessible to folks. And so like if you're in a position where you're able to help a healer be resourced, do that like
Yeah.
gladly.
Yeah.
Um, and I do the same too because I've got my own healers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect them to give me anything free. Like I want to make sure that they're good too. And on top of that, like take care of their communities.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're practicing Chinese medicine, but this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? Like
Right. Yep.
we're taking Chinese medicine, we're eating Chinese food, but we're not taking care of Chinese immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
We're sending them to ICE. Like what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to take care of them, make sure that their
Protect
community is
them.
good.
Yes.
Hmm.
100%. Well said. Well said. Okay, so let's talk about your offerings because this was
Yeah.
again another thing that made me fall deeper in admiration of you with the blending of art. You offer these okay, I want to get into so you offer these works of art for the energy maps, right? For your clients. But first, what
Mhm, mhm.
is an energy map? And what does it make visible? I guess that people don't understand or might ignore in their own bodies.
Yeah. So energy maps are my translation of a person's energetic body.
Okay.
So we go through the different layers of the body, we go through the different spheres, and depending on the client, we will go through like each one of the chakras. And so the things that come out of the energy map are either um, visuals, notes from their benevolent guides. I'll add the size and perhaps even the texture or the vibe essentially of
Yeah.
each one of these spheres that we're moving through. And I love it because we as a society have really been taught to not pay attention to these things about us. And so much of our healing has been like, okay, how do I feel now? I'm not tired. Okay, I'll be fine. I can keep going.
Yeah.
Um, Meanwhile, there's like all of this energetic baggage that we subconsciously feel, maybe even like consciously feel, but we don't really know what to do with it because no one's ever acknowledged it.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of keep on pushing it back and making it latent. But when somebody's able to sit down and go, okay, this is what I've been feeling and this is what I've been carrying, I finally see myself as a whole. There's something, even that in itself is so healing for a person. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like the most exciting part because like I'll do the energy map in the first part of my session. And during this time, like I'm not speaking to my querent. I'm not
Okay.
speaking to my client at all.
Okay.
They're in meditation and they're allowing me to view and peer. And their guides are also channeling and helping me see things clearly for them. And what's beautiful is that very many folks who end up seeing their maps um, feel a deep sense of familiarity. Like they're
Mm.
seeing a portrait of themselves that they've
Yeah.
known.
Yeah, yeah, because
that
I was wondering like how your clients respond when they see like the work of art.
It's so exciting. It's truly like one of my favorite things because they're like, it's crazy that you depicted this as this because I had this when I was like a child. So I'll share with you one of
Yeah.
my colleagues and wonderful friends. Her name is Krissa, and she is an acupuncturist and owner of Well Collab in New York. Anyway, we did an energy map for her, and for some weird reason, like her root chakra kept on coming up as a ship. And I kept on seeing
Oh.
like a porthole in a ship. And I'm like, of all the times that I met Krissa, like and spoken to her, I've never gotten like nautical vibes. It's so bizarre.
Yeah,
But, like at that point, you just got to trust spirit, like whatever
totally.
that
Yeah,
has to go in there.
yeah.
And so as I'm going through her energy map with her, I'm like, you're going to think I'm nuts, but like, I don't know why spirit was like this, but there's a boat in your root chakra and a porthole. And she's like, oh, I grew up in a home that had like portholes. And so she, as a kid,
Oh,
actually grew up in a room where the windows were circular, looked like portholes, and outside of her window, she could see the ocean. And she was so close to the ocean that it didn't look like she was on land.
yeah. Interesting.
And it's so interesting because it's something that she hasn't thought of in a really long time, but it is something so formative. And
Mm-hmm.
then from there, we were able to understand it a little bit deeper, like where these aspects of grounding, where these aspects of safety, or when she feels unmoored in her life, this is what's actually happening. And so being able to understand that context and make those connections internally and feel where that energy lives in the body
Mm-hmm.
is one really, really, yes, informative and great for like function, but two, like deeply healing
Totally.
because
Yeah.
there's an aspect of being seen where you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. Or, and especially if you're uncovering things that might have been suppressed,
yes.
yeah, yeah, there's a lot that you're kind of activating in my awareness.
Yeah.
Because you've mentioned a few times, like, spirit, right? So, so would you call yourself a seer? Do you identify as a psychic or a medium? I know your ancestral connections very much part of your work. Again, another reason why I love you. But I'm like, oh shit, like she's working with guides. So I'm just curious, like how, if you could explain that maybe to me a little bit.
I think that you're also like picking up my hesitation in it
Okay.
too. Maybe it's not hesitation or like my sort of like, I don't really know how to label it.
Totally. Yep.
Because like when we I think that when we healers, like say medium or psychic, people have preconceived notions about it, like they think that I'm going to tell them the future.
Mm-hmm.
And like maybe sometimes if like spirit
Is-
allows us to view
yes.
it.
Yes.
um but I guess I don't fully identify with it, but they are parts of my medicine. So
Mm-hmm.
mediumship is part of the medicine. Um, Psychic awareness is part of that medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Am I operating like other psychics? Not really, because like um, sometimes people's guides aren't there to speak. I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really in service to what is for the highest good of a person. And the skills and methods that I use within that session are really tied into that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all of it. Sometimes it's simply like, hey, let me tell you, you are low in vitamin D, my friend. Like
Yes. Yeah.
your guides are like, you need to supplement.
The same, honestly, the same thing happens in my
Yeah.
readings or my in Reiki energy balancing. The same thing, like it's like and sometimes it's like you need to go to the dentist. Sometimes it's not even related to the body. Sometimes it's like you need to get your car checked, you need to bring your car in for service. But I also understand that a lot of the things that are going on in our lives are what is affecting our stress levels. It's what's impacting our nervous system. So it's like, take care of this so it's not
Mhm.
affecting this, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I totally feel you there. I think this conversation's important because I think a lot of hesitation, and I had the same hesitation, or similar, I should say, of like saying I'm a psychic medium, because the type of psychic medium that I think is dominating the scene is a spiritualist or a new age psychic medium. And so people tend to have this expectation of when they book a psychic medium that they're getting the same thing. But I see healers, I see psychics and mediums, I see us all as artists, right? So
Yes.
I see us all, we're working with the same energy field, but we're translating that information completely differently. And colonization gave all these terms, right? Like the patriarch, like just the way our society has shifted and moved away more just from ancestral, like indigenous connection. Now there's all these labels and stuff. And I still have a difficult time, because I feel like our practices are very multi-dimensional,
disciplinary. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's like, how do I even label this, or how do I even title this? But I just love that you just mentioned that you work with guides. And do you feel like, is there like a certain channel that you access, I guess, into connecting with spirit? Like, is it your own guides that you're working with, or a kind of combination of theirs and yours?
It's a combination. So I have like a little system that I set up, and this is something that I had to build and structure when I was in my clinic.
Okay.
So I ran an integrative medical clinic for like 12 years, where I was seeing people in person every day. And the time came where like spirit was like, okay, we need to evolve into a different space. Usually like acupuncturists who do that, they lock in and they do that for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
So a lot of my colleagues and even my parents, of course, my parents again, were like, what the F are you doing? Like, it's going so well. Why are you shifting this?
Yes.
As I'm sure that you're familiar with in this
Totally.
conversation.
Yep.
And it's just like, listen, the spirit's telling me to go a different direction. They're like, okay. And it was during that time where I realized that like, oh, if I operate in this space of mediumship, and I'm being very vulnerable with my energy, and I continue doing that in high volume, it's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really felt like that. And I needed to find a way to be able to still have that permeability, and to be able to relate to other people's guides without having to burn myself out.
Yeah.
And so this is the understanding that I have with my guides, is that they're kind of like my front desk. And
I love that.
they're my communications team.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will meet with other people's guides if
your front desk
if I'm
allows
asked
it
politely.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And if it's resonant, right? Like not to say like, oh, you have to treat me well, but like it's mutual respect.
Totally. Yep. Yeah.
Because I have held space for guides that are straight up racist.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. Yeah. And I find out afterwards. Anyway, but my guides will speak to other folks as guides, and it'll almost like give them a chance to recharge as well. Because like obviously if the message isn't coming through to their person, and who the person they're guarding, the person who they're guarding, then there needs to be like, there's some wires that are crossed, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so there's almost like a rehabilitation that happens on all ends, where like the spirit gets rehabbed, the person gets rehabbed, and then we all come together where in a very clear way we're stating exactly what needs to happen. And so it's almost like a group counseling session in my spirit guides.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it as the same. I say it's like like we're meeting for coffee, or like having a little hang. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, I want to get back to the drawing, to the art.
Okay.
Because I'm just curious, like, was there a certain point where you were like, okay, art, expressing the medicine, the healing through art helps me explain or express things that language can't?
Yes.
Is that what it was? Like,
a little bit of that, but honestly, I got into art because I was completely burned down in my clinic. And
Mm.
because, when you grow a practice or you grow a business, it sustains and you can scale because you have repeatable patterns.
Yeah.
But as a person who really thrives on creativity,
Mm.
um, it becomes challenging because then you're locked into the same thing. So I
Yeah.
went like, okay, what's one way for me to be able to tap into this um, in a controlled way that is also healthy for me? So I started just sketching, meditating and sketching. And those sketches were always influenced by what would come up in my meditations.
Okay.
And it was just a way for me to lump together all of the things that I wanted to cultivate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I needed to meditate. I needed to sketch. I might as well do it together.
Right.
And I have this really wonderful friend. Her name is Jody. She's a fantastic international artist, and she's also a really great art educator. And even saying like really great is such an understatement.
Mm.
She's incredible. I went to one of her workshops in Sedona, just like on a whim. I'd never painted anything in my life, never touched like acrylic paint or a canvas. And I I told my family that I wanted to go. And then in the last minute, I was like, you know what? I gotta stay. There's like fires that I gotta put out in the clinic. I'm not gonna go. My parents and my partner like booked the trip and was like, get the F out of here.
Oh, that's amazing.
You are taking yourself.
Yeah.
Um, so I did a solo trip out there, learned how to paint from her essentially,
Wow.
and that just became like part of my practice. And from then on, it was like I could not. I felt like I couldn't breathe unless I created some small thing, like either in an art journal, on a sketch pad, or like literally spending time on the canvas. And over time, that practice started to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't expect it to go anywhere, but people started to ask about the paintings, and then that became a business on its own, which I'm very, very grateful for. And when that started to happen, that's when I started to shift from clinical practice into, you know what, I think that I could spend more time into this and see how my spirit and practice cultivates and my medicine evolves as I delve into it.
Okay. Because yeah, you've internationally like your art's been internationally displayed, has it not? Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes. When I hear this out loud, I'm still like, what?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's like a huge freaking deal. And I think I
I
saw maybe some things in your like. I think maybe you would. Did I see that? Like you traveled somewhere or went? Yeah.
Yeah, I did a residency in Italy after I closed the clinic, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a sabbatical. I did a few weeks in Italy, and that was the most effing fun. Like
Yeah.
just I picked a nice small town. I picked Assisi. There's like 100 old medieval churches there. Um, the artist residency was set up in this really great old home that used to be part of a medieval church. So like the walls were 500 years old. It shared a wall with the decommissioned church next to it, which was so cool.
Okay.
Um, and literally, like, I would walk the streets, grab a cafe, pop into a crypt of a saint, and like meditate.
Oh,
And it
that's
was literally just like
amazing.
me, the candlelight, and then like a whole bunch of Franciscan monks. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, I sketch what I felt. I
Nice.
take time and just create all day, and it was so deeply healing. And so to be able to share my art
Mm.
in one of the galleries there was really like such an honor for me. And I'm just like, mine? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think too, like there's like I someone else like I love to travel, and I feel like spirit, my ancestors move through me in terms of travel, and I feel like I don't I think there's this underlayer of travel that's not spoken about enough where it is healing generationally, right? Like I think of so many of my ancestors that didn't have the privilege to
Mhm.
travel. And how they move through me to bring me to certain places for whatever reason. It makes sense after, right? But it also,
Yes.
like, I feel like strengthens my practice, strengthens my connection to spirit, builds up my intuition, because you're living outside of the box for a period of time, right?
Yes.
Like, do you feel like travel's also strengthened your practice in different ways?
Deeply, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love the way that you describe this too, because like when you're out of your element, regular rational thought and like logical lines just don't make sense.
Yes.
And so suddenly you're engaging with someone and you have to be way more present. You
Mm-hmm.
have to understand body context. And suddenly you're like reading the room with energy rather than like what you understand to be because you're outside of this culture.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds us that we are so deeply interconnected, right? Because then you're suddenly focusing on the things that can you can relate to with another person. And I think that it gives me goosebumps when I think about it because some of the most like nourishing and beautiful interactions I had on that trip were with people that didn't speak a lick of English.
Yes.
And
I'm getting chills. Like, same. Like, I've had
truly,
honestly same experiences where there's literally no English, and we're
yes,
just trying to use translate or use our hands, like
yes.
expressions, and it's like, yeah, yeah, I feel
And
you.
it's beyond, I think, because also like when you feel that level of care from someone,
Mm-hmm.
they they don't expect anything from you because you're a guest in their land, which is so humbling.
Mm-hmm.
They just want you to be edified. They just want you to have a good time. They just want you to have like a moment, like it. I'm not going to cry about it because it really is like so profound for me to
Yeah.
to feel that level of love from
Yeah.
somebody that you don't even know,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't even speak your language, and you're like, wow, humanity, there's something
Yes.
here. This is why
Yes.
the great meteor hasn't hit yet
Yes.
for the
That's
second
no,
time.
that's so accurate. That really is, because again, I
Mhm.
experienced similar things on my recent travels, and it does, it's kind of like this weird energetic reset where you're like, oh, okay. Like, I think too, to see like hope and faith in a different, like, displayed differently, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, like this is why I love Canada so much because like
Mm-hmm.
my experiences visiting your beautiful country was like, oh my God, people are so nice. I was ready to flip off this person that I was like overtaking in the highway and they didn't even try.
It exists.
I'm so sorry.
It exists. But it's true. We
Okay.
do tend to say sorry a lot. That is true. I'm People are always commenting that when I travel, and I lived abroad for a while too, and people are like, "You do say sorry a lot." Like, yeah,
Because you guys aren't sociopaths and you care. So
again though, there it does still exist. Like, we
of
still,
course, of course.
I think too, like a lot of our political stuff, I mean, racism, like, it's, I think our what we're known for, our politeness, is what masks some of the
Mm,
real stuff that's happening,
mm,
and like, still carried out to this day. We still have indigenous communities without clean drinking water, like, on their own land. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so it's still here. I think it is masked with our sorries and our hockey hoser kind of Canadian
Yeah.
accent, like, um so yeah, it's still here, but I always find it interesting when Americans speak about Canadians, like, it's, because I've spent some time in the US. I was in Brooklyn a couple years ago, in New York,
Oh,
and I love, like, I was like, I love y'all. Like, I thought the people were amazing, like, there is, yes, a fieriness, but
oh
there's
yeah.
also, I see like a lot of openness, and like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just like a comfortability that strangers I have amongst each other that I don't really see here.
I get that. I see what you mean. Um, yeah, because so many of us are either expats or like transplants. Um, and we inevitably like rub elbows with so many different walks of life
Mm-hmm.
that it's kind of absurd to not even acknowledge it,
Totally.
Uh, and it's like a weird nuance too, because like I know from what I understand, like in Canada, people know their neighbors, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people are kind. Here in the States, sometimes even in like tighter packed places like Brooklyn, like people won't know their neighbors,
True. I
but you
see.
know
Yeah.
that they got your back nonetheless.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay. Okay. I'm mindful of our time and I'm like, oh shit, we've already
Oh,
been
oh,
talking for
okay.
an hour. So I want to be respectful of your time here, but I really wanted to jump into the Chinese New Year, the transition
Oh,
into the
yes.
year of the fire
Mhm.
horse, because I've been speaking a lot about this as well. And um even in like a non like it's just energetically things that
Oh,
I can
yeah.
feel and sense into. And then so I find that Chinese astrology is helping me to put the words to what I'm sensing. And I know you do work with the pronunciation Bazi.
Bazi, yes. Yeah, so
Chinese
it
is
translates to four pillars. And
okay.
it's, yeah, so it's just like, I guess, the energetic forecast, basically. It's like the collective chi flow of what's happening in the year.
Okay.
And it's the same way that we would diagnose a body, like we're
Mm-hmm.
using the five elements where there's an extra layer of personalities that we add on there because of the
Okay.
different animals that come up. So last year was a yin wood snake.
Mm-hmm.
And yin wood snake, when we think about it, it's kind of like meandering, right? Like it's very clever. It's still moving forward, but there are no like straight lines A to B. You're probably going to go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Oh
And
my
then
gosh, that's such an I never even thought about that perspective with how the snake moves. I love that.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
And it's kind of like a vine too, right? Like we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to find the light, but it's never going to be straightforward.
Mm.
And yin wood really has like a dampness connotation. It's a little bit wetter. It's a little bit cooler. And you'll notice too that there were a lot of like issues of floods and like
Yeah.
areas where land was already soaked with water, so that when rains would come in, it was just very yin
Right.
wood.
Okay.
So, something that we have to consider now as we move into the yang fire horse is that the energy is going to shift drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're straight out of the gate, it's going to be so effing fast. Fire is very active, it's very vital, and it can be really great to have because like we want to like charge forward. But the shadow part of that is that if we have too much fire, it's going to burn us out. If we have
Mm-hmm.
too much fire, then we hurt other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we have too much fire, we might actually like burn some bridges.
Right.
So we have to consider too that the collective energy might be that. So it's a little bit more volatile. Maybe we'll see a lot more heat or
Mm.
hot temperatures rising, unfortunately, both metaphorically and um, literally and metaphorically. And temperatures and tempers truly. And so
Mm.
we already see that with many of the governments in our world really hinting at this new world composition, like the way that
Yeah. Yeah.
we're coming out in the world is going to be a little different because there are some plays that are trying to be made.
Mm-hmm.
um, we're wondering if it's going to happen, if it's not going to happen. I will say that in the Yang Fire year, it's probably going to happen. It's going to be way too fast for us to even
Really, I am.
yeah, I feel like we're going to get a lot of whiplash from what's going to happen over the next
Mm.
few months. And I hope that I'm wrong, and I'm not sharing this from a
Fearmont.
fear-mongering standpoint.
Yeah, I
This
say the
is
same.
Thank you. There you go. Yeah, I appreciate that because like I really want folks, our healers, our space holders, and our cultivators out there to really like lean into your water-based activities because we need to balance
Mm.
that heat, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we got to
Yeah.
meditate more. We got to hold it down at home. We have to make sure that we are using our medicine and our cultivation. We are using prayer and spirit.
Mm.
Um, because we need to be able to stay the course. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we're going to like keep it quiet. We're going to be like motherfucking water, like chipping away at
Hmm.
the canyon until there's a deep groove in there
Yeah.
that you can see from motherfucking space.
Yeah. No, I
And
feel
that's
that
the kind
too.
of energy.
Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah,
So,
that's
okay. So then because like, again, I'm feeling on so many different levels in these different ways of how we are awakening or coming online, activating. And so I understand with spiritual awakenings, a lot of collective influences can activate and trigger these awakenings, and understanding now that we also have this energy with this fire horse. Is wood fire horse or
it's a young fire horse.
okay.
Hmm.
So with this energy also propelling everything, I guess you could say, I'm very much mindful of grounding practices, right?
Yes.
So what other suggestions do you have, I guess, from Chinese medicine perspective, from your own
I
intuitive
would,
understanding too?
yeah, I would blend this with some of the Western astro too, because
Mm-hmm.
like right now we're in this really beautiful Aquarian energy. And so Aquarius is really about that, like connecting and making sure that what we do benefits our community,
Yeah.
that it benefits the collective. And so that for me is incredibly grounding, that connection with the folks that we love and care for, that we want to protect. That's what we really need to lean in on.
Mm,
Because the fire energy can be splintering, it can be dispersing if we allow it to be. But if we have grounding in it, it becomes like a beautiful forge where we're refining things, we're making things more beautiful, we're really seeing where the kinks in the structure aren't working so that we're like, okay, that's what we're going to fix.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting as you're saying that too. I was getting this image of like glass blowing
Yes.
and how they're
Yes.
like using, I don't even know where that came from, but thank you, Spirit. But this like image of like the fire making something beautiful, right? And like
Hmm.
putting pressure and kind of still molding it under the heat to make it something beautiful. Are there like foods, herbs,
Yeah.
drinks that can help support us through this? Because it's obviously transition energy in a weird way too, right? Because I feel like a lot more people are feeling somehow more confident to like go for their dreams, go for their
Hmm.
goals, like change things in life, right? So how,
Totally.
yeah, like what herbs and foods and to
Yeah,
nourish us.
that will definitely depend on each person, but I'm going to give you like the general stuff that I love to recommend from that you can pick up from a grocery store. So
Okay.
like goji berries are fantastic,
Okay.
especially for female bodies or for like yin oriented bodies. And really just like for anyone, because like even if you're yang oriented, you need yin to be able to hold yang. So
Mm,
goji berries are fantastic because they nourish both kidney yin, kidney yang.
mm-hmm.
And so doing like a little handful of that in some hot tea and sipping on that, or just like adding it to your smoothie, or even like your yogurt in the morning or like oatmeal is really perfect. I would suggest don't do too much because it will soften your stool.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. People are like, more is better, right? And like, no. Balance. And then what else? I would recommend some really good American ginseng, which is like so ironic to me because like yeah, the America is so yang oriented, but the
Yeah.
ginseng that is cultivated here is actually very yin based. And
Okay.
so it helps to nourish our fluids, as they say in Chinese med.
Okay.
And it has an adaptogenic function where we can
Mm.
feel energized without feeling like keyed up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so American ginseng, and weirdly, I have been seeing a lot of it at Costco. So if y'all want to get it in bulk, right on up.
Amazing.
Yes, yes, yes. And the last one I would recommend would be chrysanthemum tea.
Okay.
Yeah, because we spend a lot of time on our screens. Our eyes
Mm,
get to be like really dry, almost like gritty, right? Especially in long editing days.
mm-hmm.
Chrysanthemum tea is fantastic for quote unquote clearing the heat.
Okay.
Um, and you'll find that people who have a propensity towards heat will feel it a little bit more this year. So maybe more hot flashes, more inflammatory reactions, those things that like come and go like that. So you definitely want to have some like anti-inflammatory stuff in your kit, like turmeric, curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric, and then chrysanthemum.
Okay. I love that. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks
I
for
hope it's
those.
helpful.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for those tips.
For sure.
So just to close out, I'm just, um, I have so many. It's like how do I have so many other questions, but I want to. Yeah. Well, I want to, I guess, get your intuitive feel. Obviously, our collective energetic, like the read on the collective energy is quite intense, right?
Mm.
And so, what do you feel that our current collective energetic climate is revealing or showing us, like where we are spiritually, historically, and where do you, I guess, hope or where are you feeling into that where the shift and change is going to show up for us?
Oh, goodness. I think that the first thing that comes to mind, because like this is so nuanced, the first thing that comes to mind is like, we as Americans really think, oh, we're the good guys.
Mm,
We're doing so much good in the world. We keep the world order. Um, if we were in the story of like Star Wars, we would totally be the rebellion.
mm-hmm.
But what we're really, really realizing now is that, oh no, are we the bad guys? Are we the drama?
Yeah, yeah.
Are we the colonizers? You mean like the place that we ran from because we didn't want to get colonized. Suddenly we're
Mm-hmm.
the colonizers now. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're the instigators. And so I think that that's becoming a lot more apparent to everyone in the world and then to very many Americans as well. Um, and there's a dissonance that happens for folks, I think. And I think that that's a huge part of why they're really leaning into this cult of personality because they don't want to admit that perhaps America isn't so great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Perhaps America is only great for the 1%, and that is a problem. And maybe the life that I have here isn't as vibrant and as gun-toting and as
Mm-hmm.
free as I feel. Because like, why else would I try to steal other people's liberties if I
Mm-hmm.
felt free and sustained and like resourced? Anyway, so I think that that's kind of like the dissonance that's happening for so many folks, and the energy that I get from all of that is kind of like a question mark. It's a huge question mark because there are so many ways that people can react to that when they're shown a picture of themselves that they don't relate to, and they feel kind of like the vulnerability where it's like, that's me.
Yeah.
Um, People can lash out. People
Mm-hmm.
can lean in more on like, that's not me. Um, or maybe, my sort of internal prayer is that folks can be willing to change and to accept that like, oh, okay, this is where it's lacking. This is where I'm not connected.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe there's a way that I can feel more resourced where I don't have to take it from other folks, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to burn the world
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
feel great again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's, yeah. My hope is that like true suffering is relinquished. True suffering is seen and uh, fuck, I don't know. I just want peace,
Yeah.
global
I know.
global peace, world peace.
I feel you there. I do. And I'm curious too, because obviously energetically we're holding this in certain parts of our bodies too. So should we be tending to any specific parts of our body or supporting them in specific ways?
Yeah, I think that especially in this time, it's really important to not lose heart. Um, in Chinese med, our heart is our connection to joy. It
Mm,
is also where we house spirit with a big S. We
yeah.
call it the Shen,
Yeah.
Shen. And when we become disheartened, we quite literally lose that connection. And that's our connection to vitality. And I think that in really, really difficult times, it's just so important to keep that light on and by any means possible. Just like take care of yourself, love on your people, because I don't want to sound like, oh, there are dark times ahead, but like I want all of us to be around and to be thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I feel you there too. And I know what you mean. Earlier you said you try not to be fear mongering. I the same. Like I try very much not to be like, be careful, this is coming. But it's like, if we look at history, if we look at cycles, obviously we can all kind of sense that change is coming, change is needed, and it's coming in very intense ways. I do,
Mhm.
again, I don't want to be like, yeah, we're in dark times ahead, but
Yeah,
it does, it is kind of looking like, things are going to get
yeah.
worse before they get better. But that's where people like us come in.
Yes. No, it's so true. It's so true. And I also might be respectful of your time. I'm so sorry, but I'm going to add this
No,
too.
please do.
Is it's so different, right? Because like I know that you feel it. I know that I feel it in my bones too. And it's a very different type of feeling of trepidation and fear, because like it's not anxiety.
Yeah.
When if I were anxious about it and I were projecting this
Mm,
feeling about it, then there would be a contraction that's happening. And but what's so interesting about it is that I do feel like there is going to be challenges coming up
mm-hmm.
inevitably,
Mm-hmm.
but there's almost like a meeting of
Yeah.
it. Like I feel very much like, okay, we were born to hold space in this time. We were
Yes.
meant to do this.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I I really like all of your listeners and all of the folks in your community in mind, like we need to really hold heart, like hold space for ourselves and fuck, we just gotta hold it down. That's
Yeah.
the thing that just keeps on like repeating over and over in my head, especially from my guides. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna get through it and we just gotta be there for each other for
Yeah.
sure.
And that it's very interesting. You're actually putting words to some feelings and things that I wasn't really even aware of. How I'm not
Mm.
feeling anxiety about
Mm-mm.
things. I honestly have not actually had time to reflect about that because I'm not. Um and it is as uncomfortable. It's like I feel like I'm in a weird place where I'm very aware of the fucking chaos and destruction
Yeah.
and the injustice and the oppression that's been continued, that keeps playing out, but I'm also very aware that there is going to be change, that we are going to have these shifts, and like you said, born to step into this role for these times, these shifts in humanity, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and like and just like sharing your knowledge, your wealth, your spiritual connection. It's really been very refreshing and inspiring too, and I hope that the listeners feel the same type of vibe. It's been a really nice conversation.
Likewise, Christiane. It's been such a joy to get to connect with you and chat with you. I've been wanting to do it for so long. And
Same.
there's just something really beautiful that happens when like two healer nerds come together and
Yeah,
chat about stuff.
totally. I feel like there really is. I know so much more we could talk about. We'll have to do like an Instagram live or something because I just
Let's
feel
do
like
it.
there's so
Let's do
much. Yeah.
it. And I just, being able to connect with you helps me feel a little bit more seen in this world too, because like, yeah, it can be lonely holding space like this. And
Totally.
So like what you've shared today really resonated with me. Like, thank you so much for asking such beautiful questions
Thank
too.
you. Thank you so much.